So thank you all for joining this weekly series call for the Career Go, where we enable, empower, and support everybody searching for a job in Canada, specifically in IT. However, most of those learnings can help anyone in other fields as well. So this call is going to be streamed and recorded and on social media and YouTube. So if you're not comfortable being streamed or recorded, please leave the session now. Today's session topic is becoming the empowered you. I will share more details about it in the last slide before I hand it over. So this community is going to boost your networking, practice, skills, and knowledge, and what you can learn and share with others. So if you're comfortable, sharing your LinkedIn profile in the chat and connecting with others who share their profile, that will help you boost your network. So we work to help see everyone in a job they love, as well as find and use your full potential. So the call today, Mohammed, is gonna be interactive, so you can ask questions as you go. Normally we try to limit questions to 2 minutes, but today is more interactive. So if you can raise your hand and come on camera and ask questions, that would be very highly recommended. So at the end of this call, we run a survey. We want to hear your voice. It's just 1 minute. Let us know, how did we do, and what do you want to get out of this in future sessions. We really listen to your voice and want to, deliver what you need. At the end of the call, we take a group selfie. So stick around. This is very good for your, visual presence and for your social network as well, and also for the community networking. This whole community is all about volunteering. So if you want to provide kudos and recommendation through LinkedIn to the speaker and anyone else you find that they helped you, that would be great. So our promise as a community, you will get hired within 3 to 6 months if you continue to show up, if you continue to apply what you learn, if you continue to ask questions and be curious and teach others as well and bring others to this platform. You will get hired, and you will not walk alone. We are here to help you, so feel free to ask any questions that you want. Our friend Mike Jibara here is a IT recruiter based in Ottawa, and he could maybe find you positions if you're in the IT field. So our goal is ambitious. We want to get 1,000+ people hired in 2021, through this community and other services that we provide. So already 8+ people got hired in the last few weeks. So this is a good indication that's working, and we want you to be hired as well. So what we ask from you is engage and go through the YouTube channel. I pasted the link in the chat. There's lots of good nuggets there, lots of great wisdom from previous speakers about storytelling, resumes, LinkedIn interviews, and other topics. So coming up this Sunday, creating a great LinkedIn profile. This will help you, to create your best LinkedIn profile, and this is very important for your visual presence, to let recruiters hunt you rather than you chasing the job. And next Thursday, we have the ATS, applicant tracking system. All what you need to know about it, the do's and don'ts. If you're doing your resume, you need to know about the ATS, the applicant tracking system, because it affects how you get filtered out or in the job process. And those sessions are in the Eventbrite. You can also check it from the Eventbrite for today. You just scroll down or follow the community on Eventbrite. So today's session, Becoming the Empowered You, the objective is to learn how to quickly and effortlessly become the part of you that already has everything you need to achieve your goals. Our speaker, Mohammed Sheikh, the mind mechanic, is an NLP trainer, clinical hypnotist. Sorry, a HeartMath certified trainer, plus another dozen or so certifications on various healing and change work methodologies. He has been helping people heal their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors since 2013, having transformed his own life in his mid-20s through NLP and bonuses. Muhammad has traveled extensively and is continuously learning under the world's best healers, change workers, and coaches and entrepreneurs. Beside the work he does at Coach the Mind, uh, the platform he launched to enable positive change in others, he works with various local community organizations to help them succeed. With that, I will hand it over to you, Muhammad. The floor is yours, and I will stop sharing my screen.
Great, perfect. So yeah, this is great. I can start seeing people. If you are okay and comfortable to turning your cameras on, that would be wonderful. It's just, in this world that we live in, with everything being so digital and virtual, it allows me to almost pretend that we're at least in the room together. Um, so yeah, there's a whole part of my life which is around, helping people with their emotions. But ultimately, my job today is I help people get the change that they want. I help people always, I believe that always everyone has a good to great story. I coach, I coach lots of people in various different things. I mean, there's the whole mental health side of the work that I do, which is around depression, anxiety, trauma, all of that. But a good number of my clients, I would say at least half of them, are actually people who are there for performance. So CEOs who are looking for that edge, individuals who'd like to become CEOs one day. I have coached a professional race car driver to really manage his nerves so he can win more races. And ultimately, what I have dedicated my entire life to is really answering the question that I've always asked ever since I was a little kid. And that question is, why is it that the same life event can happen to two different people? Whatever that life event is, but for one person, it's the thing that becomes a downward spiral in their life. Everything goes bad in the book. They get into gangs, drugs, violence, whatever. But the exact same life event can happen to someone else. And it is the reason, the challenge, the catalyst, if you will, that allows them to really, make a transformation, but in an upward trajectory. They're the guys who usually end up giving a TED talk, maybe 30 years later in life. This really became relevant for me. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story because I think it really fits into the work that, Ahmed is doing with this community group, but really all the work that you guys are doing here as well. So I understand that, the whole premise behind this group is really focused more on people that are newer to the country and are looking for work. Now, I'm not new to the country. You can probably tell that by the way I speak, right? I wasn't born in Canada either, but I was very young when we came here. I was actually 7 years old when we came here. I grew up here. I was raised here. Went to school here. Had really, really good marks, but my life event was in first year university as a computer science student going into computer programming. And I've been coding, by the way, since I was 9 years old. I was really good at it and I had top marks in math. I mean, this was something that I was supposed to be. What I wasn't expecting was suddenly, without any logical reason, being hit with so much fear around writing tests and exams, which I have never in the life of me experienced. I didn't know how to deal with it. Right. And that threw me a curveball that I actually never recovered from. I tried 3 different schools. I was in first year, 3 different schools, all in various computer science. I went from University of Toronto to Ryerson to even Sheridan. Right. And ultimately, I dropped out. So here I am, $30,000 in student loan debt, no job, no degree, no diploma, nothing. And really the rest of my life ahead of me. So this was sort of my life event. And I needed to figure out what I was going to do with that. So I'm going to pause here in my story and I'll tell you the entire story by the time we're done today, by the end of the hour. But that was my challenge. What I kind of want to know, if you guys want to either throw it in the chat or just unmute yourself, I want to make sure that I really spend this hour giving you stuff that you can use directly. So I need you to teach me your world a little bit. What is the biggest challenge for each of you right now in your job hunt or in getting employment or whatever that is? if you want to give me your one or top two challenges, that would help me really, cater this conversation.
Sounds good. So if anyone wants to come off mute and maybe come on camera and share your challenge, please do so.
Because I can talk about confidence, but if the issue is I'm not getting interviews,
yeah. Does anyone wants to volunteer? Okay, I think, for
why
me,
don't you maybe give me a few?
Yeah, sure. So I think what I was facing at the beginning is, being overwhelmed with the number of information that I need to digest and also, use to find the job. This was one of my challenges. Other challenge was mainly the confidence to really speak in my second language and be able again to show value and convince others on that I'm really gonna be very valuable to this company and this role. So those are were my top two priorities. And also, distraction. The distraction was affecting me. I did so many different mistakes in my journey until I reached where I am now. But I did car sales for a period of time. I did Uber. I did customer service. I did lots of things that took me away from what I should do. Luckily it didn't go for long period, but it definitely affected my journey.
Yeah, and that's interesting because in my perspective, in my world, I had that for there was a 3-year period before I landed a corporate job, where I did everything from working at Burger King to Zellers, which is Walmart, to telemarketing. I was the guy that called your house and said, hey, we're in the neighborhood for air duct cleaning, so it's 50% off, right? I was that guy. I sold vacation packages to America. At one point, I only did this job for 2 days because I was like, I just can't do this. I would walk around the street with a box of random things from scissors and knives and just sell them for cash. It was, a marketing company, so, but, in hindsight, there was that summer, I must have been around 21 years old or 22 years old, where I think I did 20 interviews in the span of 4 months. And I was like just interviewing everything, and I actually had a lot of fun with that as well, because there were some jobs that I just knew clearly I didn't want this, but I still went for the experience, and I would actually have fun. Like, I remember this one job that I knew for sure I didn't want. I showed up in track pants and a golf shirt, right? And just to see where this conversation would go. Now, of course, I'm not suggesting that you do that, especially in a corporate environment. This was a job at a company, a business that it's kind of like Staples. It used to be called The Office Place. It doesn't exist anymore. They went out of business. But, I had a lot of fun. There's so much that we go through that later we look back and we realize that all of those experiences were necessary in order for us to become who we are today. And I think that is, if we really sort of approach where we are right now with that sort of mindset, that I'm learning here, that I'm growing here, that makes a lot of this a lot easier. So the big thing that I got, as I was going through my challenges, because I went from being someone that was super confident as far as my academic abilities. I wasn't a popular kid. I used to have a stutter actually in high school, which I have gotten rid of now. I joined Toastmasters, which made a big difference. So I highly recommend that to everyone, just if you're looking for something regular to practice it's not just about public speaking, which is of course very important. It's just about communicating in general. It's a safe place, right? So Toastmasters was great. That's a free tip right there. But this internal story, the thoughts that was going inside my mind was, I'm basically a loser and I'm not going to amount to anything. I have no future. You know, I come from a family of academics. I come from a family of professionals, right? You know, my if I start listing off like who my siblings are and the positions they have, you know, they've done pretty well for themselves, right? And I was right on that track as well. But of course, everything sort of fell apart. But this is where I discovered something called NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which it doesn't really matter what it is, other than understanding that it is a set of tools on how we experience the world. It is really about understanding this very simple statement that our reality, or what we experience on a day-to-day basis, is basically the stories that we're telling ourselves, right? And that becomes very true for ourselves. So if I'm telling myself the story that I'm a loser and I'm never going to amount to anything, imagine how much confidence, or imagine how much passion, or imagine how much effort I put out in the world. If in the back of my mind is like, it's not gonna happen, I'm not gonna get this, it's not gonna work out. And that was something that, you know, I really learned by going through this program and by, you know, being exposed to this whole world of really personal development and professional development, was that I needed to, one, become aware of the stories that I was telling myself. And then the second thing that I learned, which is what I really want to share with you today, is a very simple formula, if you can call it that, that allows you to access the best parts of you. And that's why this presentation is becoming the empowered you. Like, there's already an Ahmed in your case that knows exactly what to say, that has all the knowledge, that is absolutely, you know, ready to do that job, right? There's already a let me get these names right, Yassine, right? You've got the skills, you've got everything. It's just a matter of allowing that part of you to be the one that the interviewer sees. And I'm going to tell you a few stories here about how sometimes this can go wrong. But that is, again, to just repeat myself, is we really need to take control of the thoughts and the language that we're using. It's not necessarily what we're saying, but it is, it's the thoughts even also in our head. And sometimes it is what we're saying. You know, let me tell you a story. I used to know a guy in high school. His favorite thing to say in the whole wide world was pain in the neck. Okay? Everything was pain in the neck. It was his favorite thing to say. Honestly, if I had $1 for every time he said pain in the neck, I wouldn't need a job. I would, you know, we'd ask him, oh, you know, we're all getting together this weekend. We're going to have a barbecue. Are you going to join us? And he'd be like, oh, no, my dad's helping me, you know, clean the garage. Man, that's such a pain in the neck, right? We'd have an exam and I'll be like, hey, you know, there's an exam coming up. Are you ready? He's like, oh man, that course is such a pain in the neck, right? Do you need any help with the assignment? Is like, oh man, Mr. So-and-so, the teacher's name, he's such a pain in the neck, right? Everything was a pain in the neck. You guys get the idea, right? So anyways, high school happened and I went through my whole journey and everything, right? And I told you what that was. I completely lost in touch with him until about, well, I guess it's an old story now. It was around 2010 or 2011. So basically 10 years have passed since high school. And I randomly bump into this same guy at the mosque during Friday prayers, actually, right? And we instantly recognize each other. And, you know, we do the whole, oh my God, how are you? It's been 10 years. What are you up to? Married, kids, this, that, all of that. And then he asks me, do you know any good chiropractors or maybe a good physiotherapist? And I'm like, no, but why? Is everything okay? He's like, it's the weirdest thing. My family doctor can't figure it out. I have these chronic neck pains. And my doctor suggested that maybe I go to a chiropractor or a physiotherapist or a massage therapist to work on it. Right? And as soon as he says that, now me being very familiar with how the subconscious mind works, how hypnosis works, all about the power of the brain and the mind. I mean, I suddenly have a flash of us being back in high school, and he's like saying pain in the neck. And no sooner do I think that, I swear to you, he says to me, man, this is such a pain in the neck. Literally. And he says literally. And I'm like, do you not hear yourself? Right? So, this is one of those stories that it was so perfect because it really teaches us just how powerful our language is. But when you think about it, we say things like this all the time. We're going to our mother-in-law's house and we're like, oh man, I gotta go. You are rehearsing a disaster. Here's a line that's worth writing down if you have something to write down with. All visualization is rehearsal. All visualization is rehearsal. And visualization, there's like proper visualization, which is I'm going to lead all of you through a technique, something that you can then learn. But visualization also happens in like the sort of comments we just say without thinking twice. Like there's a friend of mine, I remember shopping with him one day, and where he's buying this suit, and he says to the girl that's working at the store, he's like, so do you guys have any discounts or something like that? And it's like, no, sorry, there's no sales, there's no discounts. Like, come on, don't you have a fat guy discount? Right? And he's a very big guy, so he says that, don't you have a fat guy discount? And he's a pretty big guy. But it's interesting that in my world, when he continues to identify with that sort of language, even though it's just a joke and we just pass it like that, it actually is training the subconscious mind that that's what I want. And that's, people sometimes get like weirded out when they hear that I'm a hypnotist, right? So a lot of people don't really know what hypnosis is, but some people who do think of movies and TVs. And I say that the biggest hypnosis is the hypnosis we do to ourselves by the language that we use, by our thoughts. It's how we're programming our mind. So when we go into a job interview, we go to an opportunity, when we make a statement like, the market is very tough, it's very hard to get a job these days, it's too competitive, I respect, and I'm not naive, I do understand that there is, of course, a competition, and sometimes certain positions are hard to get by. But when we continue to repeat that sort of language to ourselves, even though we're not thinking about it, we are creating a reality in which part of us, it's like, what's the point? We don't even show up with 100% anymore. One of my favorite quotes that I absolutely love is, the richest place in the world. Anyone want to guess where the richest place in the world is? It's not Dubai. It is not United States.
It's probably Brunei.
The richest place in the world are the graveyards. Because in the graveyards, you will find books that were never written, songs that were never sung, inventions that were never made, words of love that were never expressed.
That's pretty profound.
Because the person was too afraid.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
So let's take a moment to just sort of reflect upon that. Because what I really want to teach you today is, how do we change not just the mindset, but the entire state of how we show up? Because all of this, by the way, goes forward. This is why I stand up when I'm doing this, even though in an environment, it's very easy for me to just sit down, right? I mean, I have to raise my desk in order.
Yeah. So Muhammad, maybe I want to share, and because you already discussed it, when I came to Canada, I met some people who put me down. Unfortunately, they tried to tell me, as you just mentioned, the market is tight. You will never get a job except after a year, or don't put so many high expectations. You need to go low, and all those kind of negative thoughts that people sometimes push on you. So what I did, definitely I got affected a little bit, but I pushed it away. I tried to challenge those people, and challenge myself, and say this is never going to happen. I know that I've been delivering value before, and I know that there's a need here, and I'm just gonna find my way. I'm just gonna do the homework. I'm just gonna connect with people who could get me to what I want to do. So I think we all pass through this period of time. Some people put us down, some people make us, and again, we also do this to ourselves sometimes. We think we're not good enough, we're not really not gonna get the job, and those kind of thoughts. So what do you suggest on getting around those negative thoughts, negative people, and pushing those away?
Well, the first thing I would say is the reason those sort of thoughts exist is because it is a fear of failure. It does come from a place of fear to failure, and we live in a society and a culture around the world that it's safe. I remember at the most base wiring of creation, our subconscious mind isn't programmed to make a lot of money. Our subconscious mind isn't programmed to have healthy, loving relationships. Our subconscious mind isn't really programmed to make a difference in the world. Our subconscious mind at the most root is survival and it's safety. So we have to understand that there is whole generations and generations of, genetics that is really about don't do anything different, keep your expectations low so you won't be disappointed. And what we don't realize is we actually then teach each other this too. We teach it to our children. We think we're keeping them safe, but really we're not. We're limiting them. And so having this awareness of an appreciation of where it's coming from, that in and of itself is a game changer, because now you can have a conscious, one of the things that really makes a human being great is our consciousness, is our conscious capacity. To go and be like, I understand where you're coming from, but you know what? I am going to dream. I am going to give myself permission to dream, because if I focus on what can go wrong, then that will be my reality. I would rather focus on what's possible. And when you live life in what's possible, a lot of those things become possible very quickly and easily. It's really, it's just statistics. It's really, there's no gambling here. It's where am I putting if I'm playing here, I'm going to get more of this. But if I'm playing here, the odds are I'm going to get more of that. One thing that I teach a lot of my clients is don't live life with these expectations. Expectations are I should do this, I should have gotten this is how life should be. Instead, live life with expectancy, which is a word, I don't think it's a real word. I might have made that up. It's okay because I'm telling you. But when you live life with expectancy, it's actually the opposite of expectations. Expectancy is basically living life waiting for a miracle to happen, waiting for something good to happen, showing up every day and being curious, right? And it's really, 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 really believing in that word, right? Really believing in that thought. And I'm telling you, I have some stories that if I was to share with you, they're quite crazy. I'll share one with you. And regardless of beliefs or religion or anything, never underestimate the power of intention, the power of belief, and the power of prayer, right? There is something really uniquely, and I'm one of, as Ahmed said in my bio, one of the things is I'm a certified trainer, an independent trainer with an organization called HeartMath Institute. And you could go to heartmath.org and start reading their research. They've been doing 30 years of research on the energetics of the heart, and they've like almost proven the energy that us human beings give off and how our thoughts and our emotions are actually encoded in that energy. They can measure it now using magnetometers, because our heart actually creates an electromagnetic field, which is measurable up to 3 feet, right? So that's a whole other thing. I have free stuff on my website where you can go and learn about that. But here's one, really impossible story for you guys. I remember in my corporate days, so I come from a background of corporate sales before I went independent and started doing my own thing. I had closed a new account, and I had sold 100 Hewlett-Packard HP desktops to the business. And it was a pretty big order. 100 desktops is a big order. It was a first-time account. The customer had asked not to ship the product until next quarter, 6 weeks away. But to use his budget, he needed to place the order today. No problem, Mr. Customer. We can totally make that happen. The company I worked for took the money, cashed it, and what ended up happening is next month, HP decided to raise the price of the machine. So we had sold it to the customer, but we hadn't purchased it from HP yet. And that order, instead of being profitable, was about 15% negative margin. There was no way my boss was going to allow that order to go through. There was no solution other than my boss telling me that what you need to do, Mohammed, is you need to tell the customer, sorry, we really appreciate the business, but either you pay a 15% markup or we cancel your order. And I was like, this is not going to happen. So I got on the phone, I called everyone, but there's no ways around this. I mean, the price went up. So I just knew in my heart that it's going to work out. And I made a lot of prayer. I made a lot of prayer. About, I think, 2 weeks before delivery, the product manager for HP works for the company that I work for. She's on our, she's an employee of this company. She comes to my cubicle as if she's seen a ghost. Her face is all pale. And I'm like, is everything okay? And she's like, what did you do? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, I just got a phone call from someone at HP that I've never spoken to. And he literally said, we have a budget. And if there's any deals in your pipe for, 100 desktops or more, we can provide discounting to close the business. Right? And he had no idea of it's literally what you need. So, I think it's about just really paying attention. And I have more stories about that. And I think if we go into our own lives, I'm sure we all have stories of such a nature where seemingly impossible things happen. And what was behind that was an intention, a belief, a prayer that, really allowed for this to happen. I know the fact that I'm here today in this country is because of a prayer that my mom made. If it was up to my dad, I would have been, pledging allegiance to the flag of America, because we were living in New York. We came here. We just didn't get the green card in time. And it was my mother who really pushed my father to, apply, and she had this whole thing. So getting back to all visualization is rehearsal. I want to lead each and every one of you guys through an exercise and through a technique which really breaks down how do we really get ourselves ready for the interview so we can visualize, so we can see the interview happen how we want it to happen, and we have rehearsed it and practiced it enough times so that when the actual event happens, it's like we've already done it 1,000 times, that we know exactly how it's going to go. It's almost like creating the outcome before it happens. And by the way, before I lead you through this exercise, there's actually a lot of good science behind this. Here's one study that was done. They had taken a college basketball team and they had broken them into 3 smaller groups. And what they did is, for the first group, they said, for the following month, for the next 4 weeks, you are going to show up for practice every morning just like you normally do. And all you're going to practice is shooting free throws. That's all you're going to practice, is shooting free throws from the line, the free throw line. The second group said, for the next 4 weeks, you are not allowed to pick up physically a basketball, but you are going to imagine you are throwing free, and you're going to do that every day. Just like this team, the only difference is it's not physical practice, is you're going to imagine it, and you're also allowed to watch videos, watch yourself, watch your teammates sinking free throws. And they had actually made a whole collection of videos, not where people were missing, the only videos were people shooting and always getting it in. It was consistent, they were always going it in, okay? That's very important. The third group wasn't allowed to touch a basketball, think of a basketball, say the word basketball. They had to do something completely different for the next 4 weeks. Anyway, so they did this experiment, 4 weeks went by, they all came back, and then one by one of each of these, the 3 groups, they tested their skill and their ability to throw free throws. Understandably, the group that showed up every day, they got better. Right, their skill improved because, of course, they physically practiced, they went through the motions, and they did the drills. But what was interesting was that the second group also improved. Their ability to sink free throws also went up, not as much as the first group. There was actually a big difference, but it increased. It didn't drop, it didn't stay the same. They actually got a little bit better just by thinking about it. The third group understandably got worse, right? And so there's something to be said there too. When we leave anything, even if it's something we're doing for years, we do lose that ability a bit. Understanding that about our brain, that our brain isn't, just put it really simple, whatever we're doing on a regular basis today is what we're going to do more of, right? It's just simple habit. So it doesn't matter who we used to be 10 years ago. It's whatever our mind is thinking about on a consistent basis, we're going to do more of that. So it really is important to make sure we are conscious of what we're exposing ourselves to, who we're surrounding ourselves with. Because as Ahmed, you said in your example, when people around you are telling you, right, that, it's a tough market, it's going to take at least a year, all of that is really creating this reality, which isn't necessarily true, right?
If I can maybe ask Mike to come here and maybe share some of the things he's been seeing also from people who went in the job search journey, because he's been around for a long period. Mike, do you want to share anything?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to comment on some of your stories. They're absolutely great, and it really puts things into proper perspective when you think about something else that's helping you, if you believe in religion or God or whatever it is, that things actually do work out. And I'm a believer of that also. But back to what Ahmed was saying in regards to people, getting prepared for interviews and getting all set, and like I always say, make sure you know what the company that you're going into, who they are. what they do, you know, who the people that are conducting the interviews. Look them up, see what their background is. If you find a connection of any of their hobbies or anything else, if you have something familiar, maybe the same university, whatever the case may be, kind of, it breaks the ice. And like, there's a lot of people that go in that are like, and they should be sometimes nervous, unless, as you say yourself, you went to so many different interviews, you were going, changing your clothes just to see the reaction, knowing that you're not getting that job or you have no interest in it. But with IT, everything's obviously is a little more serious. People are always, you know, prepared, or they should be prepared to deal with whatever happens. And as I always say, Ahmed, is that when you're discussing technology, always be sure to pretend you're speaking technology with friends. Don't be nervous or intimidated by the people that are at the other end of the table, because they are like you, technical, you know, and it's all about technology, and it's all about how you can interact and converse with them regarding the technology. And I've seen people before, and you heard me say it, Ahmed, where a person went in and she was a referral from a software developer, said she's great, she's bright, she's very good. Got into the interview, she was so nervous, she started crying halfway through. Like, I mean, she just couldn't answer the technical questions or get up on the whiteboard and describe, you know, some of the coding, and she just broke down. And but I met her about 2 months later where she got a job, and she said, you know what, it took me about 3 or 4 interviews before I was able to be comfortable going in and knowing what to expect and, you know, act accordingly, you know. So it's and everyone is different. Everyone, I have some people that have gone into an interview before where they're very confident, overconfident, because they know their stuff and didn't get the position because of their attitude. So it's like one of the speakers a couple of weeks ago, and they said, you've got to, or a month ago, you've got to be able to read the person who is conducting the interview and kind of act like them so that you're on the same even playing field. So it's interesting, and everybody is different. That's what, you know, we're all unique, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You know, and something that you just said there reminded me of going back to, this is a statement that really comes from NLP, and if you might have even heard of it before because it's a very popular statement. There is no such thing as failure. It's only feedback, right? So when you really live your life, everything in your life, by the way, all decisions, not just, you know, job hunting or job recruiting, but everything, if you really look at, there is no such thing as failure, only feedback. That is very freeing because you just get feedback. And if you think about it, I mean, we are honestly way too hard on ourselves. If we had this self-criticism type attitude that we have as adults when we were kids, none of us would have learned how to walk, because we would have fallen on our butts, you know, maybe a dozen times and been like, this is not for me, you know.
Not working, yeah.
Yeah, mom and dad, give me one of those electric chairs, you know. But
so
no,
true.
we don't have that. We just take it as feedback. It's learning how to ride a bike. You know, we fall down, but what's really happening is we are finding our balance, and we need to find our balance. You know, being that sales guy, you know, what Mike just said about knowing how to read the person, that's absolutely true. A little trick that, you know, a coach or someone gave me was, when you enter a room, but even, I mean, in a Zoom, you can see something on their walls. You know, pay attention to that, right? Make a comment. You know, that helps break sort of the ice. And I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret of rapport that most people miss, because rapport actually has nothing to do with whether or not a person likes you. That is not the definition of rapport. I'm going to give you an amazing definition of rapport before the end of the program today, but I want to lead every one of you guys through the exercise. So this is how I do a visualization exercise. It's straight from hypnosis. It's straight from NLP. It's understanding that the way our brain, the neuroscience of our mind, is all experiences are actually remembered through the senses. So there's a visual component, there's an auditory component, and there is a kinesthetic component. So sight, hear, VAK, visual, auditory, kinesthetic. You can even write down on your paper, V So it's just bringing in the senses. You don't have to worry about taste and smell because you're not going to be hopefully sniffing your interviewer. That would be very inappropriate. So bringing that in, and then also understanding that the body has a lot to do with it as well, right? I've actually helped people get over depression just by changing the way they walk and making their eyes go from here to always straight ahead, you know, and getting them to promise that they will do this for a week. Suddenly they start feeling a lot better, right? The mind and body are parts of the same system. I have a very different approach to helping people in doing, you know, therapy. Okay, so let's do this all as a group, right? Maybe you actually already have an interview in the books, or maybe it's the interview that is yet to be scheduled. Either way, go ahead, close your eyes now. Put your feet flat on the ground and your hands on your knees. Take a deep breath in and sit up straight, nice and straight in that chair. Feet on the ground, hands on your knees. Take a deep breath in and exhale. And in a moment, not now, but in a moment, I'm going to ask you to take another breath in. And this time when you exhale, it'll be a normal breath and a normal exhale. But this time when you exhale, I want you to imagine that you're actually floating out of your chair right here and into that future interview. So go ahead and take that breath in now. And as you exhale, float into the interview. Whether it's an in-person interview or it's a virtual interview, go right there as if it's happening right now. And I want you to first notice your body and adjust your body so that it is nice and straight, powerful. You can feel that energy in your stomach, in your core, yet also keep your shoulders very relaxed, making sure that your hands are very relaxed and your fingers are very relaxed. No part of you should be tense at all. And another breath in. And exhale out. Noticing the relaxation now in your body, because a relaxed body equals a relaxed mind. When you are physically relaxed, you are mentally relaxed. And now notice the tone of your voice as you speak with confidence. Notice how that sounds like. Certainty, confidence, understanding, knowledge, and wisdom behind each word that you speak now. Hear the sound of the interviewer's voice. As you answer, feel the energy between you and the interviewer. That connection, the flow that's happening back and forth. Notice as with each word, both of you become more comfortable with each other, more sure that this is the direction and the right choice. Really feel that feeling in your body and notice what the world looks like. Notice the smile, notice, the look of paying attention to you. Notice how you return that in turn. Listening to the sound of your voice, their voice, and again, feeling the relaxation in your body. Now, go and conduct the entire interview, all the questions that you have prepared, all the things that you know, everything that you know consciously, but everything that you know unconsciously. It's so easy for you now. It's so simple. It's like ordering a pizza on the phone. How natural we are when we order something off the phone, when we want food, when we're hungry. We know exactly how to ask what we want to ask for. Especially if you're like me, who's very picky. I need to have extra cheese, I need to have mushrooms, and I need it to be half green peppers and half banana peppers. Very picky about my pizza. Yet I'm very comfortable letting the other person know. With that same sort of comfort, notice how when you bring that into the conversation, how easily it flows. Allow this now to happen organically for you. You're doing this. And this is an exercise that you can do every single time, every day, practicing the interview you want. And right up to the end where you're getting that job letter, you're getting the offer, you're shaking their hands. It's okay, it's in our mind. We don't have to worry about social distancing. But really feel that and put that out there. Enjoy this for as long as you need to. And when you know that you can do this simple exercise yourself, only then open your eyes, take your time. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes coming back. It's always fun doing this sort of exercises in a group because everyone comes back at various times just to show you that there's something happening at the subconscious level. How do we feel? Does anyone want to throw in the chat or just unmute yourselves? How do you feel after doing such an exercise? How did that feel?
I find it so calming. It's so like peaceful. It's almost like meditation, you know, just relaxing the whole body. It's like it's like, as you say, all the energy is out, you know, like your finger on your knees. You don't feel the weight. It's like, it's great. It really, truly is. It kind of clears your head. Like for some reason, it just kind of relaxes you extremely.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a relationship between meditation and hypnosis. And the way I explain that relationship is all meditation is hypnosis, but not all hypnosis is meditation. Meditation is like going to the radio and turning the volume down. Hypnosis is like changing the channel and creating whatever channel you want. That's the difference. Meditation is really about calming and relaxation, being in the present. But hypnosis is about consciously and actively creating your thoughts, right? And that's what self-hypnosis is, anyways. But this exercise, just to really recap, if you were to make this notes VAK, right? See the pictures, hear the sounds, feel the feelings, understand that the body has a big thing to it, right? It is not possible. It's physically, mechanically impossible for us to be stressed or nervous if our muscles are relaxed. So if we just do a good job keeping ourselves, and we notice ourselves sort of tightening, we notice ourselves holding our breath, as soon as we become aware of that, let go. Breath in and just breathe it out. Relax your muscles. The mind will automatically follow, and suddenly you have access to everything you know, right? The example that Mike gave, with that woman who got so nervous that she started crying, what happened there is when you get emotionally compromised, the prefrontal cortex of your brain, where all of the executive, all the knowledge, all the good stuff really lives, it shuts down. It literally turns off, and we don't have access to that anymore. Relaxing our body, taking a breath, doing such exercise. If you think about it, it's all about the prep. You guys are putting so much prep in all this way. Doing this is a game changer, right? This is the sort of stuff that I teach CEOs, and that's what allows them to go up on stage and give a talk that is so captivating that you honestly feel that this person was talking only to you and there was no one else in the room, right?
Amr, you raised your hand. Do you want to share? How did you feel?
Yeah, sure. It was really a good experience because, especially those fears that we got in the first as impression of the last interview. Now, when we are doing this rehearsal, we're trying to minimize those fears and try to avoid them. So maybe I think if we repeat this multiple times, then the next interview would be very much easier.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? And I'm running this exercise as I'm walking, it's been a long while. I'll admit that I've had to actually go for an interview, right? But I do a lot of talks, and sometimes there's like, hundreds of people, right? So as I'm going up on stage, I'm literally, as I take every step, I'm doing this exercise in my mind, but I'm always doing it in the morning as well, right? It really is. It's so simple, but it's often the simple things that people don't do.
It's very simple and very strong, too. So, again, thank you for sharing.
I'd like to open it up for Q&A, but before I do, the real definition of rapport. I mean, everyone can have their own definition, but I personally find that this is the best definition that's really helped me in so many instances. So rapport does not have anything to do with if the person likes you or not. So if I wanted to have rapport with you, Ahmed, it really doesn't matter if you like me or not. The real definition of rapport is how you feel about yourself when you're in my company, when you're in my presence. It's really about how I make you feel about yourself. Okay? It's not if you like me, it's if I make you like yourself. If I make you feel good about yourself, then I have rapport with you. Right? And if you think about it, all the times where you've had gotten good along with someone, it's because you felt good about being who you are when you're around them, right? You go to your grandparents' house, they're so happy to see you and you feel good about yourself, right? And therefore, I can't wait to go to their house, right? For any of you guys that are single, remember this is a great way. But also in the interview, this is why, when you mention, hey, I noticed that you have a University of Ottawa degree on the wall. I went there as well. You must, be really proud of that, right? I'm acknowledging you are feeling good. I'm making you feel good about yourself. Something that I used to do as a move before I even knew that I was doing a move here. It was just something I did naturally. But in my sales days, I made sure that I always began and closed the conversation with something important to them, something that they're proud of, something that they're happy about, right? So, I would say, hey, I remember your daughter's taking piano lessons. How's that going? And then, they would be like, oh, suddenly their face lights up, right? And they're like, oh, she just had a practice yesterday. You should have seen her, all this sort of stuff. So all of these emotions are being fired now. And guess what? They're associating subconsciously those emotions to you. If I was to drive this point home, I want everyone to pay attention. If I take a yellow marker and draw the letter M, what restaurant comes to mind?
The obvious.
McDonald's, yeah.
McDonald's, the obvious, exactly, right? That is what we call in my industry, Hebb's law, neuroscience, but it's a neural connection, right? You have conditioned, that has been associated too much. Now, if there's an emotional component here that someone really loves McDonald's and all of that, you're going to start feeling good too, just by me talking about McDonald's. This is the exact same thing happens. Every time I would go to a customer, I'd ask them something that was important to them. Their body would create all of these emotions. They'd get attached to me because I'm the one asking this. I'd talk business. And then I would always leave with, so when's the next recital, or when's the next thing, right? Or what's next for her, or whatever else that they were interested in. And that whole part of the middle, that goes away. And remember this, we are emotional beings, ultimately. If you are equally as qualified, I know, I come from a family of IT folks, right? So no one on the hiring side, but everyone's been hired for different, from project management to developers to all that sort of roles, consultants and stuff like that. So I hear all their stories, and they do tell me at the end of the day, it is about, can you do the job? Are your technical skills up to date? And can you deliver, right? But if you're equal, the person who's going to get the job is the person who really fit in the culture. I'm going to give you 3 points, which honestly, Mike, if you can affirm for me, because they might be a little bit out of date, right? Like I said, it's probably been 15 years since I've been in, in this sort of capacity of, hunting for a job. But what I was taught is that behind every interviewing question, they're basically trying to confirm 3 things. So as long as you can assure them of these following 3 things are true, there's a good chance you'll get the job, unless someone else comes, it comes that can do it better. So the first point is they want to know, can you actually do the job, right? Do you have the technical skills, or whatever the job, or whatever the role is, can you do the job? The second thing is, are you going to stick around? We have to remember that employers invest a lot of budget to training new hires. So they want to make sure their investment is going to pay off. They want to make sure that you're not going to say something like, oh, I just need to get a job, right? What I really want is this, but I figure let me get this until I get that. Never say that. Obviously, I think that's common sense, but you'd be surprised what sometimes people say. Or, I'm really here just to climb the corporate ladder. I figure let me get what I get, and then we'll move up from there, right? Yes, communicate your intentions, but you do also have to be conscious of the fact that they are making a significant investment in you. So can you do the job? Are you going to stick around? And third, are you going to fit in the existing culture, right? If you are bringing a dynamic that is going to offset the culture that exists, that is a no-no. And that's it. These are the 3 simple things. Is that still true?
Yeah. Soft skills also. Like the last point, I think maybe soft skills, if you can bring that. But it's so true. You're absolutely right.
Okay. And, Toastmasters consider that. So what I'd like to leave you with is a link. If you enjoyed this and you want to go, deeper into the mind and neuroscience and NLP, I was actually invited, I guess time flies, 2 years ago, to this fancy place. This guy, it was a private mastermind. He rented this 20-bedroom house, and he flew everyone in, and it was really cool. All right, I usually don't get to enjoy such celebrity status, but I gave a presentation there on sort of like foundational NLP concepts, and he actually had a professional video crew record the whole thing. So that's something that's available on my website, which you guys have more. I encourage you guys to go there. The last bit of that is actual language patterns for influence, which can be very useful if you have the practice on how to use that. So I would definitely encourage you guys to at least check that out. To put the link, can I share my screen here?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
If you don't mind, can we just take the selfie and because some people maybe would like to drop.
Yeah.
We can. And I shared the link to your website, Coach the Mind, right, Mohammed?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if people wanna go there and check the video.
Yeah. If you go to coachthemind.ca, let's just take the selfie first.
Yeah. Okay. So if everybody is comfortable coming in camera and show us your great smile. Just give me a second here. I'm just gonna give a few seconds if anyone else want to join. Okay. Anyone else? No. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, and smile. Awesome. Great selfie. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Go ahead, Mohammed. You were.
I was just going to say, if you go to coachthemind.ca, that's the website, and you click on resources and you click on free training, just on the menus there, you will see there's one that says under free online classes that says free NLP training. That's the link that I'm talking about. You can also directly go there just by the link that I posted there.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so again, we'll open up for Q&A if anyone wants to.
I'm okay to hang out for as long as you guys need to. I understand that people need to drop off, and that's great. Thank you so much. I hope this was beneficial for you guys. But whatever questions you want to learn about the mind or the heart or any of that, kind of the resident expert.
Sounds good. Mohammed, you raise your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mohammed has his hand up.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah. I think it's my first session here. I think my dad just set me up in this group a couple of weeks ago, and today was my first session, and it was really interesting because a lot of the points Mohammed made regarding taking deep breathing in the interviews is a really key point. And I thought that because I have collapsed a lot in the interviews, especially like going for government interviews, you have to do testing, and then you have to go see 4 people in the counter. It's just crazy. So I think deep breathing really helps you a lot, and I felt like I'll try that next time to actually implement that, because I think it's all mental. Like if you're mentally prepared, you can ace the interview. It's all just being relaxed at times. So yeah, the question I had is, so whenever like I go for interviews, after the interview, I feel like sometimes that I did a good job, but I have thoughts in my mind that maybe because of diversity issue, or it could be my name or anything that could throw me off compared to others. So I just feel like sometimes it could be maybe I don't have the Canadian accent, I'm not sure, or maybe there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of that comes to my mind, like negative thoughts, so how do you encounter those things?
Yeah, that's a very fair question and a very valid question. I really want to tell this story, but it's going to take about 4 minutes. If everyone's okay to hang out, trust me, I will make it worth your while. Before I tell you the story, just really quickly, the breathing is amazing. Understand what really allows that to work is to do the visualization, the pretending, the closing your eyes many, 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 many times before the actual interview happens. Consider that the prep you're doing, because you've never done the prep and you're finding yourself getting nervous or whatever it is during the interview, you've already started reacting. Your body, the breathing you won't remember to do the breathing, right? So you have to do the prep. You have to train yourself. It's like how athletes go through training before the actual event. So just understand that. So here's a story of what you're talking about, because it's very important. And you really have to. One of my lines is, I literally act as everyone that I meet, even if it's the first time, they're my best friends, right? Now, it doesn't mean that I talk to them all casual and all of that, but I treat people as, they're good people. They have their best intentions. I honestly live life like that, where these people, they know I'm a good person and I have only the best intentions for them, right? That's how I walk. This story is from a book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. It's a very fascinating and a wonderful book. I encourage you guys to get it, pick up the audiobook, because I'm pretty sure he reads the audiobook himself. And this is a story about a Black man who is going for a role, for a job which he is absolutely qualified for, but no Black man has ever had this title. In fact, there's no one of color at that level of seniority in this company. So he goes into the interview with this mindset. In fact, he was already talking himself out of going to the interview, because why should I put myself through this? It's not like I'm going to get the job anyways. But his wife, women are, they say behind every great man there's a greater woman, right? His wife pushed him, like, no, you're going. So he shows up to the interview. and is giving the interview, but he has this running in the back of his mind. The interviewer doesn't know what's going on, but has a feeling, something in his subconscious, that this guy is uneasy about something. And it's like, I wonder what he's uneasy about. And he starts getting a little bit uneasy himself. Going back to the black man, the interviewee, he picks up on the uneasiness, all subconsciously, and starts becoming a little bit conscious. Look, he's shifting, and he's probably thinking, what am I even doing here? He took one look at me and said, there's no way, right? Now back to the interviewer. The interviewer is like, I wonder what it is. Maybe he lied on his resume. Maybe everything he said isn't actually true. So he starts pressing on. So when you said you led a team of developers, what do you actually mean by leading them? Like, were you just like a part of the team and you worked on a project? And now he's like, no, I led them, And, in his mind, it's like, of course, he's going to ask me because he doesn't believe it's possible for a black man to be a team lead. And this just goes, and this loop keeps continuing and continuing until the end of the interview happens. And of course, the interviewer says, we'll let you know. Thanks for your time. Which is pretty much saying you're not getting the job. And the interviewee leaves saying, this is why I never wanted to show up. But isn't it very interesting and fascinating that he didn't get the job because anything to do with race or color or anything like that? It was something totally different. And what the black man didn't know is that white interviewer has a black wife. So it's the whole thing of racism, doesn't even come into, or any sort of this doesn't even come into play here. But we have to be, I'm not naive. I understand that such things do exist. Sure, I get it, right? But there's a very different vibe that we give off, right? And when I mastered this, when I really started living every day, and I think you guys will all appreciate this, Mike, maybe not so much, but I think you'll get the humor. I never get stopped at the border. Okay.
Go away.
Because I have the name, I have Saudi Arabia on the passport, I've got Pakistan on the passport. This is short. Normally my beard is longer. All that sort of stuff. When I'm crossing the border, it is not an issue because I just show up with just honestly so much love. That's what I walk with. And yeah, sometimes people aren't nice to me, but whatever. Right? That is not the rule. That is always the exception. So that's what I would say is a lot of the times I have found, obviously being of the same culture and the same background, talking to my friends, being very active in this community, I honestly have found that it is more us creating and projecting a reality, which is in neuroscience, we call it a reality tunnel, and it's not true. Those are always the exceptions when it does occur. So hopefully that provides some sort of an opportunity to perhaps view things very differently.
Yeah, I just feel like the main thing I've learned from this conference today is confidence. And I think that confidence is the key in life to succeed. And that's what I've learned, that the way you're confident in how you approach things when you go through the borders, I think if you're positive and confident, and if you're negative that this guy is going to stop me, then he is going to stop you, yeah. Right? So, and that's what I felt from you. That.
And to just feedback, you're absolutely correct. It is all about that. But the whole point is this is not something that you need to go. You already have it. When you're ordering a pizza, when you're at the grocery store, when you're talking to your friends, you already have that inside of you. We just need that part to be the one who's giving the interview, right? The part of you that's like nervous is this, and I'm not going to get this, is this, my name is this, all of that. You need to send that guy on a little vacation, you know, and tell him, you know, take a break, go to sleep. I have a really important thing to do right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much for your question, Mohammed.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? I know.
Yassine has a question.
Oh, go ahead, Yassine.
Okay, so this feels a lot like the placebo effect. So here's my question. So let's say you do use this technique of like meditation, and obviously it's not going to work. Would there be like other tips and tricks maybe you should consider if, let's say, the nocebo effect is too strong, or you've been practicing this meditation technique and it hasn't, like, you don't see any success even though it's been multiple days, right? Like some people just, if they're too scared of something, right? Would there be other tips and tricks you could or should use?
So the first thing I'd bring your attention to is you're already talking about why it won't work, which is, again, self-language. You know, Henry Ford, whether you say you can or you can't, you're right. Okay, so be aware of that. You're already why it won't work. Okay, so catch yourself in that. And yeah, you know what? It is placebo, but guess what? Placebo works. Even if we know it's placebo, it works. Robert Cialdini wrote a wonderful book called Influence. Fabulous read if you really want to understand just, you know, some of the, you know, from a compliance and influence aspect, what happens and how our mind works, right? That being said, this is kind of what I do with my one-on-one sessions.
Oh.
You know, this is a general advice, you know, that I want to share, that I can share as a group, but understand that we all have wonderful subconscious strategies which are keeping us stuck in life. And a lot of times, it's not that we're supposed to do something differently. We just need to stop doing what we're already doing that is giving us these bad results. You know, I used to weigh 250 pounds. I'm 190 now. The thing that made the difference for me was one day, you know, my hypnosis teacher actually saying, it's not what you need to do to lose the weight. You need to understand, what are you doing so profoundly well, as if it's a good thing. What are you doing, Mohammed, so profoundly well? What are you an expert of that is keeping you at 250 pounds? And then when I looked at things this way, I was like, huh, I hardly drink water. I only get 5 hours of sleep. I eat Popeyes 4 times a week, right? So I just need to stop these things and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the sort of work that I'll do in a one-on-one, where I will get into what is the subconscious pattern someone is doing that is keeping them stuck. But, you know, right away, what I would tell you, Yassine, is let me finish with this. One of the creators of neurolinguistic programming, NLP, Richard Bandler, in a training, he said, this is not supposed to be a science, so don't treat it like one. In fact, I am going to stand here for the next 3 days and tell you a bunch of lies. I'm going to tell you a bunch of lies, which is a good thing that I'm telling you today that these are all lies, so you don't have to believe in it. Which is a lot better than other teachers, because other teachers won't tell you that they're lying to you. In fact, they might even begin to believe the lies themselves. So I'm going to tell you a bunch of lies, so don't believe in it. But if you pretend to believe that they are true, you will find your life change in amazing ways. So I am all for placebo.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, that's really very good. You know, we need another session, Mohammed. But let's see
Yeah,
if people have.
definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, follow me on social media. I have a YouTube channel. I'm starting to put more videos on there, right? I love to give back to the community. At least once a year, I do a big event. In the last event, I had 200 people show up. It was all over Zoom, right? Because I used to do free in-person sessions too. But you know what? I guess the good thing with Zoom is I don't have to rent a space to hold 200 people anymore, because that was something that I would obviously invest in, right? But with Zoom, there's no cost, so there's some benefit there. But yeah, get on my mailing list, follow me, add me on Facebook, add me on LinkedIn. I'm definitely more active on Facebook, and let me know whatever I can do to help you guys. If you, especially in LinkedIn, prior to besides the work that I do here, I started up my own technology business, so I'm a reseller of different IT solutions to businesses. I took that from the corporate world. That's how I got my break from there. But I'm connected to a lot of folks on the technical, like the infrastructure side, so networking, IT directors, VP ITs. So if there's anyone on LinkedIn that is a mutual connection and you guys want to be introduced to, I am more than happy to facilitate that introduction for you guys. It usually does come down to who you know.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you.
Awesome.
And if you're hiring, also let us know.
No. When I quit corporate life, my intention was I wanted no employees.
No
This was a decision to have time and freedom. That's what I wanted.
Work-life balance.
Well, that, and I have a passion for this work. There's no way
Awesome.
I wouldn't have been able to train and go where but we're going over time. People need to go.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much, Mohammed. This is really very useful, very beneficial, lots of wisdom here. And again, thanks everybody for sticking around. We're
No, I just wanted to say thank you to Mohammed and yourself, Ahmed, as well for setting this up. Very beneficial use of our time this seminar.
Great.
Awesome.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you very much,
Have a great
Mohammed.
night.
Pleasure meeting you, of course.
Yeah, please keep in touch. I hope to talk to you guys soon.
For sure.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.